Okay, greetings everybody. I don't know if this is really working out yet. So let me see what's going on here. Because I believe this should be on Facebook and YouTube as well. But I have no idea. I'm new at this, so I'm still scoping things out. But I'm here today regardless, and I will obviously do it again if need be, because of a certain situation I'm involved with now. And just like I explained about the court cases in regards to 93 cases, when they take your information for those citations and everything that they use for those courts, what they're doing is they're converting information from one side of the counter on the other side of the counter. And that change of information is the last name is converted to a firm name, which is just the first four letters of your last name in all uppercase letters, which is known as a stock ticker symbol, though it may not be used as a stock ticker symbol on the stocks because those are pooled accounts. So they just pool them and put them under another stock ticker symbol, likely the court stock ticker symbol or the pharmacist stock ticker symbol, because they do the same conversion evidenced on the documentation. So what happens in that conversion is they have to be able to do a ledgering. And in order for them to perpetuate this system of a need for money, they have a career, occupation, things like this. But that is neither an excuse for anything. This is a receipt for receiving a prescription. And just like most other receipts, it's got all of its general information on here. But there comes a point where on that receipt, it's going to say U.S. debit. It tells us it's creating a debt against the U.S. General Ledger, United States General Ledger. I'm not qualified to do that. And the other part of that conversion, in order to do that with that name, they use the Social Security number, but they don't put it as a Social Security number. In other words, they take the two hyphens out and just use the numbers. So now instead of having an 11-character data set, you have a 9-character data set, which consists of nothing but numbers. And that is known as an obligor number. This is the placing of a liability on the public record. Again, I'm not qualified to do that. I am not an oath taker that has anything to do with that general ledger as a trustee or a grantee. Never been assigned appropriately, never been appointed. The enumeration at birth is the assignment of a Social Security number for a newborn child. And that is based on the state determining that you, when you are a child, are a resident. You cannot qualify as a resident without first taking an oath of office. Resident, under their U.S. code, is defined as no person shall be allowed to reside within the zone except federal, state, or municipal officers or agents whose resident presence is deemed necessary by the board. None of this is done. So the people perpetrating this receipt, demanding some kind of financial transaction, again, just like the emergency room, when you fill out that documentation here, they literally put it on the document, sales agreement. In that sales agreement, it tells us that the customer agrees to make payment, it being understood that credit is given to the customer's account. This is plain writing. Doesn't take anything more than regular English courses in grade school to comprehend what is stated. Yet they refuse to acknowledge that that's in fact what it says. So we have a situation where we have to get a hold of certain people to do a discharge set-off as opposed to credit and debit. Because I'm not on the credit and debit side using the financial instruments as authorized under an oath. All I have is a Social Security card saying I'm an authorized user of the Social Security account. The problem with that is that that Social Security account is the credit debit account, and no one teaches you about the back side of the card, which is the discharge set-off routing. See that Social Security number, that's a routing number. Same with the number on the back of the Social Security card. It's a routing number. So what happens is you use the front side of the card and it gets routed for credit and debit. You use the card, the number on the back of the card appropriately established as a discharge and set off, and it gets discharged and set off. That's as simple as it is, people. It is nothing more than that. And people keep making so much of it. The problem is that we're communicating with the wrong people. So what I have to do now is I got to send all these receipts and everything to the Social Security Administration, as well as the Adjutant General, the Secretary of the Treasury, the State Tax Commissioner, and all kinds of people up the line to let them know, to say, hey, somebody down here doesn't understand English and may need some further education. That's my only intent. I'm not making accusations. I'm correcting records. I don't care whether you were taught that way or not. The reality is that's not the way it's supposed to work according to the legislated word of the law. So if you think you're following the word of the law, I can guarantee you, you are not. And when it comes to the word of the law, that is never superseded by the intent of the law. Again, the enumeration at birth is with intent to be entered into the National Archives. And in my world, under the scriptures that I use as my holy writs, Jeremiah 1:5 says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before you were cast from the womb, I sanctified thee. I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. It can't get any clearer than that the law that they legislated is actually concurring with that particular verse. You cannot levy a tax on something that is not leviable. The living flesh and blood is not to be levied. Period. So the transactions that go for medications where they show the clear conversions, and showing that you are assumed to be a U.S. citizen when in fact you cannot be. This is an impossibility that they place a U.S. debit on a debit credit ledger when it's supposed to be on the discharge set-off ledger. This is the problem with all these identifications. And when somebody like me goes in there without an identification, and I have to use somebody else's card to swipe and get this, I'm using somebody else's instrumentality that I was authorized to do. And now I've got evidence that it was mishandled, misappropriated, and there are mistakes in, on, and for the record. Period. I don't know how many more times I'm going to have to explain that, but I will do it as many times as I need to until other people start learning how to do the same stuff. You do not have to subject yourself to the insanity of believing. You can use your competence of just being able to read, even at the 7th grade level, which is the average reading comprehension of an American. Even at the 7th grade reading level, you can correct these things. It is that apparent. It is that patently observable. Please make it easy on yourself. I don't want to argue with anybody. I don't argue with anybody. If you want to continue on in your world of belief, that's up to you. But remember, if you're bringing children into this world, you bring them in to kill them without knowledge. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So if you're bringing children into this world thinking you're continuing on your race, no matter what race you think there is, then you've been duped. And I'm asking you, quit believing. If it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. God bless. Have a great day.